My name's David Desprey, DSC. We're going to do a little video about MotoGP Liveries 2025. Really nerdy, deep dive, opinion content on what's out there this year. It'll be very boring, very granular, very long. So I hope you will like that. Strap in. So we're going to do this in order of release. It's going to change a bit later on as we go, but this is roughly in order of the way they were launched. So first up is Trackhouse. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I first saw this, I thought, this is not real. This can't be really what they're going to be doing, right? So yeah, definitely was shocked when I saw it. It was, you want to, in anything, right? You want to be creating something that's like really loved or really hated, right? And obviously nobody's going to make something that they really hate, but if you make something that's really loved, you're gonna have people that are going to be railing against it. And if you don't do those sides, you're going to be in the middle, you're going to be mid, and you're going to have no opinion about what you're doing. I think this, what we have here is a bit, NPC, a bit sort of in the middle, and you can be critical of like what it come out like, but for me, it's like the problem with this is lack of opportunity taken, because when you have a satellite team that has no major sponsor, that means you can do anything you want, right? And you can be sort of super challenging in your brand building, or you can do something super creative or super interesting or innovative, or change the dynamics of what it is to be a MotoGP bike or livery team or whatever. I think this kind of doesn't take that opportunity in any way. And there might be reasons for this. So first off, it has the appearance of it being like a rush job. And there's clues like with, when you look at the wrap on the bike, you can still see the old 2024 livery. So you can see the Delgado logo, you can see the Trackhouse logo wrapped underneath this bike, right? So you go, that's a bit weird, isn't it? You see the photography is it's not great, right? So look at the blues. The blue, look at that blue, look at that blue. There's nothing consistent, and it has that sort of rush feel. Look how this is shot. It's shot on a, bed sheet. Look at the background, it's grey. This is, what I mean? It has this sort of haphazard rush sort of feel. That's fair enough, because it could be that a sponsor dropped out, right? Which means that they could only sort of get this out in that time. However, the suits match. So there is a lead time before, when you sign off the bike and you sign off the suits, the smaller brands take a bit longer. So I know what Kushatani's lead time is. I know Alpine Stars can do things in a couple of days if they have the window to do it. Dainese, probably quite quick as well. So this is in America. So you kind of question, so the bikes have been brought over, they've had the livery, they've had the wrap done. So maybe this is exactly what they wanted. I was looking around at some of the cars, and like I saw this car, this is Trackhouse NASCAR, and there's like, okay, there's some like language there that maybe that's trying to carry across into this, but again, has that sort of sensation of it being like a rush job or a sponsor dropout. I'd love to talk to you about that, whoever's responsible for this. Oh, caveat this, I was approached to have a creative role at Trackhouse when they first got the takeover from RNF, but a management change meant it wasn't going to happen. Clearly, I'm not involved in this. So what do I mean by lack of opportunity? So basically, you've got no sponsor. It means that you can do whatever you want to do. So if you're only carrying your brand stuff, your brand logo, your branding, your identity, you've got the opportunity to either do something really interesting or do something really builds your brand. And we saw this in the testing, and this might be Sepang, I'm not sure, where they had this sort of, this dazzle language sort of thing happening, and it's kind of like almost a cliche now, this whole sort of graphic language of this camouflage thing. And the Trackhouse logo kind of works better there. There's so much more visibility. When you see it there, it's just quite weak and quite dull. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting. This is a little bit different. And then they sort of go back to what this is now. I think this might be the latest iteration of it. And from my experience, sometimes I get commissioned to work with teams and with athletes on projects, and obviously the first question is who's the sponsor, because when you're creating something, the brand or the sponsor will have a big say in what you can do. And I'm an artist, so I don't really want to just follow somebody's guidelines. I want to do my own thing. I'll give you an example. So I worked with Oliver Solberg on his WRC2 car with Skoda, and is this the VW? Actually, is that the VW? For Skoda, but this is the VW. So he had it on another car, and it's a Monster branded project, but Monster gave me this sort of free rein to do it, and because this is the first opportunity me and Oliver had to do something, we got to do something that's really sort of challenging and different and exotic for the class, and people love it, people hate it, and it's great to have that opinion. This is the Skoda, this is the 2024 Skoda, 2023 Skoda, this is the 2024 Skoda. So again, we created this sort of language originally, and what that does is set the sort of precedent for what you can do going forward. So him as an athlete can go forward and starts off doing really fascinating, interesting things and challenging things. And every time he gets to do something, he can either push it out a bit more exotic, a bit more interesting. But every time you do something, you set a precedent. So the opportunity with that was, with Oliver and Monster, was that Monster had the bonnet and we could do anything we want on the car. So we got to do something really, really exciting. Another point of this is, if you see anything that's really sort of challenging or interesting or pushes the boat out a bit, that's not the responsibility of a designer or an artist. That's brought to you by the client. The client makes anything happen. The client makes exciting projects happen, because there's millions of really cool stuff that's like on the floor of all the design agencies or whatever, but only the client will make it happen. So it's always the client that's responsible for anything that's really kind of good, because they get to sort of have the vision and the bravery to make things happen. Another project that I was involved in was this offshore power boat with Tommaso Poli, and we created this boat that's, again, no sponsors, so it gives us an opportunity to do something really striking, really original. And there was nothing like this in the water for this championship. I think it ran for 2 years. And all the commentators were always talking about how, you can't miss it. Again, the result of, one, not having a sponsor, and two, having a client that will sort of approve your vision. Tommaso's a G as well. He's a really solid guy. Let's have a look at this. We've got this here. Yeah. Let's have a look. So I think we won 2022, 2023 championship. Can't remember now. Yeah. Team 6.
So the days like yesterday that you really go to bed feeling bad, and the comeback of the race of today was really needed for the morale of the team. So fantastic. We did the Operation Hasta la Vista, which means you get in front and you never see anyone else.
Yeah, so it felt like a weird one when I first saw it. I thought, again, you can see the sort of the stuff coming through, but it has evolved, right? So it has changed as it's gone through the season. I think this is the latest one, Assen. So it has evolved a bit. I think this needs to sit within something. I don't think just putting that, see, like it's white now, it was black. So they have sort of progressed, which I don't mind. I don't mind a bit of like, you know, see how it works and adapt it. This needs to sit in something. I don't think it like the Golf, like in a sort of lockup, because it seems a bit weak. And so when Trackhouse came to MotoGP, where's the cars? Yeah, when Trackhouse came to MotoGP, it was really interesting because culturally, stylistically, NASCAR is so unique. You know, it's its own event and its own continent, and it's like very sort of insular. So there's a lot of shared interest that you could push into MotoGP, or certainly in terms of the style, that you can't really push from MotoGP, because MotoGP is quite anodyne. Everything looks the same. It's all a bit financial services, all their sort of polo shirts. But NASCAR, look how cool. So these are all Trackhouse cars, super cool, super stylish, you know, so American, right? But problem is, when you're a NASCAR team, your identity is the car, right? Your sponsor. So look at number one, Wendy's car. I mean, it's 100% Wendy's, right? So you don't get much opportunity to build your own brand within your structure. You've only got the numbers to really sort of have anything else outside of the sponsors, right? But that's the identity of NASCAR. So you have this you have Quaker State, and that becomes your whole sort of look. So when you're doing a Trackhouse NASCAR, you need to have that language to go. But there's so much cool stuff in NASCAR that I'd love to see in MotoGP. Yeah, like the kits. The mechanic gear is all really cool. It's very unique. The MotoGP stuff, I've seen it all before. Check this guy out now. Yeah, this guy. That guy in that kit, how cool is that? Mechanics gloves. So for me, when this happened, I thought, oh yeah, imagine seeing all this sort of language from NASCAR and MotoGP. It'd be really fascinating, really interesting, and I hope they sort of do that. But what we've seen is no different from, you know, Man United being owned by an American company. It's just an American company that owns Man United. They haven't changed any culture or anything stylistically, or made it like an NBA team. It's just a ownership structure, which is a bit of a shame, because I think there's so much promise there and so much interest. Yeah. So okay, future display here is a slide I forgot to do on the Trackhouse, which I'll do now. So I think it's quite important, and it might say a lot about this project for them. The Golf livery. So it's really windy, so there's a lot of clatter in my roller door. When you see this is what I meant by it being like a NASCAR. One brand of the whole bike, and it's kind of like a mono brand, and there's nothing else, and it's like pure of that brand. Like Quaker State and Wendy's is pure of that brand. And what I feel like has happened is that they maybe Golf couldn't get the full package together for the season, and they did a couple of rounds. I think they announced this like before the season started, that they're going to do this livery. It's going to be really popular because it's nostalgic, but nostalgia is easy calories, but it's not fulfilling. It'll be popular, but unfortunately it's an easy win, so you can just slap it on and then you're good to go. Whereas the more successful versions of it, this is a Porsche 908 from way back, so they've had the brand and they've interpreted it in a way that's sort of interesting and exciting without it being too far away from its core. And this is like, I don't know, is this late 60s, early 70s? So yeah, it'll be a fan favourite, but for reasons of familiarity rather than it being like a successful, interesting package. But it works. Aprilia MotoGP factory team, yeah, solid, isn't it? It's black, cool, confident. You know, black is also really tricky to photograph. It's never going to be on the cover of a motor course. You know, they've got this. This is the last sort of the three bikes. You know, they've got this little red and purple thing happening. Kind of half-hearted with it. Does look good on the track. Is this Bez? But they've got this problem here with the way that they implement everything. So it's super strong, confident black, and why is it black? Is it because of the Chesterfield stuff? Maybe? I don't know. The lack of control over your hierarchy and your branding and your sponsors and your technical partners means you've got a bit of a mess, right? So look, SC project, SC project, SC project, SC project. So your exhaust technical partner have got branding on their exhaust and on both sides of the tail section and probably on both sides of the front fender. And then you've just got, wherever there's a space, you've got a brand, right? Everywhere, there's not a lot of air where there's nothing placed. So marks for it being all the consistent colour, by the way, because, you know, we go to Ducati where it's just a bit of a disaster. So you get to this position now where you've just got this absolute, like, Christmas dinner of logos. That's not very confident, because you're just allowing your technical sponsors the space and you're not sort of giving it a position. Personally, I don't see why you should have sponsors on the kit, the suit to the bike, because it's a different opportunity. And the suit is owned by the team. So yeah, this is insane, right? Look at this. Every sort of blank space has got a logo on it. No, I'm talking from a creative angle, not from a sort of commercial angle. It could be managed a bit better. So also, check this out. So I did this with Alpine Stars a few years back, and it was a suit which was basically a satire of sponsorship in motorsport and this sort of world where it's okay to put like 1,000 logos on something and we not ever talk about it. But now this is like reality, right? This is not like a joke anymore. This is what it's like. And credit for Alpine Stars for working with me on this. I had it in the show in New York. But yeah, this was supposed to be a joke. But like, this is now what we're sort of dealing with. So again, Bez Biaggi. Obviously nostalgia, this is kind of cool on the right, the Biaggi one, but look at the structure of the advertising, of the sponsorship, of the branding. Technical sponsors are all sorted out. Obviously it's a lot less, and it's a lot less granular in terms of how they get their money back, but there is a flow and a balance and a beauty to it that this just doesn't have. You know, Aprilia, to their credit as well, as a manufacturer, they create some of the most beautiful production bikes, and they've got some fantastic liveries, they've got some fantastic colorways, really interesting takes. This is fantastic. It's Futura, you know, red, white, yellow, black, like that. It's just absolutely beautiful. Another Futura. Look at that typography. That's absolutely, who'd have thought that would work? It's absolutely mental, beautiful. Silver, purple, black. So they've got one of the best back catalogues in the game, I think, Aprilia, and they are touching on it with their purples and reds and pinks and things like that. So yeah, Aprilia. Where are we now? Okay, Gresini. So this was the launch bike, same as last year, right? So same, this bluey. Okay, this is what's good about it, is that this colour is so unique and it's so iconic, and you can tell it a mile away that that's Gresini, and that's a really good thing to have, a tricky thing to have, and they've got it, and they double down on it. So credit to them for doing it. Not a lot of changing last year. Obviously they took the red away and changed up the chrome, which I don't mind. I think I'd rather see more chrome. Like the chrome, I put the tank chrome, the tail section chrome. I think they just put more chrome on it because their blue colour is so strong. A caveat with this as well, I worked with Digia when he was at Gresini. We did a helmet together because I did an apparel collection with Neighbourhood, the Japanese brand, streetwear brand, and Digi had a Shoei helmet in it, and Digi was sponsored by Shoei, and we got chatting, and we ended up doing like a version of the helmet for him for Motegi, which worked out really nicely. Obviously, this is the bike with the red. When I met the team, I think I had the worst meeting I've ever had in my professional career. I thought they were really rude. So I was just working out, I was trying to reach out to them to see if they can do a bit more in terms of doing something interesting, certainly with Neighbourhood or with Digio. So when you have a MotoGP athlete, so the helmet, the gloves and the boots, the athlete can change. So the rider can change, have his own colour, do whatever he wants with it, but the suit belongs to the team. So yeah, I had a meeting and it was like, yeah, really not great. They think they're it. I suppose I'll just go. I'll leave it like that. So this is it now with the BK8 branding. This is a bit naughty because BK8 is a betting company, and betting companies aren't allowed to sponsor. They're not allowed to sponsor teams in MotoGP, but they've got a BK8 news aggregator, a little chum workshop, and that seems to be okay. And Dorna seem to have allowed that to go through, so a little bit cheeky. Yeah, the blue, I think the Marquez looks great on it with that metallic blue Red Bull helmet and the blue on his number. I think it looks really nice. Yeah, I think that nice combo. Again, it's a bit of a Sunday lunch with all this the sponsorship. It's a bit of a, nothing really works together. It's just there. So I'm sure the commercial department's really happy, but the blue colour is doing all the heavy lifting. Let's have a look at this blue. Ducati course. Launch, yeah, a lot of effort on the launch. Good to see, because a lot of them just don't bother, or maybe they don't have the budget, but I think they're contracted to have a launch. Ducati's launch is interesting because they've really made the colours look really dark on the bike. This stripe, I'm sure, is like a sort of TV red, so like a Marlboro McLaren red, like a neon red, IRL, with a sort of traditional Ducati red as a base, which I think is really nice. This stripe does a lot of work, I think, for them, because without it, there's not a lot of evolution. And I think they've used it a lot for their to tie it into other things, which is a really good idea. So they've got it on the 450 motocross bike. I think they had it on a Super Street Fighter. I think they had it on that one of the years. Pecco's DTX bike. Yeah, it looks great in the flesh, and nice that they had it in their launch. So yeah, it's really useful, because if you've got a production bike and you've got a commercial department, having something that you can sort of push across into other things. Also, you can make it happen next year. So if you know you're going to have some of this next year, you can do some really early planning with how you can do production bikes, for instance, and certainly sort of some of the team wear. The problem with this is this Lenovo is just like a drag on this whole look. Every year we just see this Lenovo sticker, and what it does is, you can see it just didn't give anything for a flow. It looks like it's just stuck on. There's no integration. It kind of is a bit of a traffic jam graphically. We have seen it in different colours on other bikes. So on the blue bike, they had it in red, but it didn't really help with anything because it still sits in this block. And I found some Lenovo brand guidelines. All it states is Motorola logo colour. So this is a typo, but the Motorola logo colour should always contrast with the background for maximum standout, right? So that's what they're doing, right? So they just want it to stand out. So they want it to be black. So it doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be in this lockout, so it's going to have this sort of stuck-on sticker feel, which isn't contributing to a livery. It's just branding, right? And it kind of works when it's a secondary thing. Look at that there. That's how they want to put their logo on other assets. It's not very classy, but that's just the nature of their sort of guidelines. But this is what I'm saying, that you're at the mercy of what guidelines are handed to you. So no matter what you can do, you're still restricted. if the black had bled or had a bit more integration, it would have a bit more elegance. And what we saw with Aprilia, with their sort of united monochrome colours of their technical sponsors and their smaller sponsors, made everything sort of sit a little bit better. When you've got the core colour, you've got your stripe, which I think works, but then you've got all the other elements. It just creates this sort of quite bitty sticker kit sort of feeling of a bike. But you can look at how other people do it, and when you see concessions in the livery, so look at this here now. So Esso, is one of those most famous iconic logos, red, white and blue, but look at this control here where it's a monochrome logo, and alongside the title sponsor being a monochrome logo. So it all these sort of things work together to make it more of a sort of flow and more of a sort of unified object. No title sponsor. The title sponsor they have is just given over to the colour. Iconic. We saw this as well. I thought a quick comment on this. So who doesn't like a special edition? But when it's the Renaissance, it's a big ask to do that as a one-off. It's such a important big idea. Credit for the idea, but you can't just say the Italian Renaissance and then put some clip art on the bike. It's just, it's going to happen. You're going to do a special edition, so engrave it or something. Have a bit of craftsmanship to create this sort of livery, rather than it being just literally an attempt at some Renaissance adjacent sort of imagery. Same with the kit. Obviously, the way that kits are made these days, that they're printed, you don't get to do the sort of stitched on elements through a number of reasons. Great idea, but a bit more craft in the execution would have gone a long way. Red Bull, the king of cleanliness, right? So super strong, super confident. I love the navy. I love the midnight blue. It does get this thing where you just don't know what year it is. Does that matter? I'm not sure. But super strong, super confident. There's hardly any technical sponsors on it. Obviously, they've got the backing to be so confident and strong with it, and not have like 1,000 tiny little stickers. Yeah, it's looks strong. And they changed as the season went through. I'm not sure what round it is, but they put the Tectoire style with this yellow front on it onto the factory bikes, and that's just so cool. Looks like a sort of Moto 500cc yellow number plate, which love that. Really good job. Sometimes it's nice to see when you're assessing something, it's like, okay, how are they applying their languages and their graphic styles in other disciplines, just to see how it's sort of working. And Chase with his factory bike, really ton more orange, for instance. Like, that's quite interesting. And the kit, I quite like the kit, right? Again, this is all within their Red Bull language, and it's just interesting to see how other people are approaching it. Good job. Okay, so factory Yamaha. I'm not a fan of the blue, I'll be honest. I don't mind it. I just wish it was like a not metallic blue, I think. And you get in this sort of I don't know why it's blue, to be honest. I know is it the Sonauto, the Gaulois thing from the 80s? That's why it's blue. Is that right, the reason? But from when I was a kid, Yamaha was white and red, right, from the YZs. But, you repeat it often enough, it becomes your colour. The Monster, so you got like the blue, the black, the grey. It's just a bit heavy, and I don't think it does the bike any favours. The Monster Energy, if I was Monster, I'd be a bit disappointed with this. I think I'd want a bit more Monster in it, but I don't know. Monster's problem is that it's a portrait logo, right? So it works that way, not that way. And they have assets to make it work that way, like the Monster Energy typography. But because it's not a very flexible identity, that you've got the logo, but not everything in life works vertically. Red Bull has this thing where they've got sort of 5 or 6 versions of their logo, and strict rules on how you apply it on other backgrounds, and Monster and Red Bull have got rules on like competing colours that they don't want to be sort of sharing. I think, why not make this green? I don't know why it's. I think it just should be a bit more stronger for Monster, but they are very good in terms of like not being overpowering. But yeah, their portrait logo means that they have sometimes trouble, and because they kind of needed to be on black, it gives it a sort of hardness to the identity and the bike, because they can't really run white without it being in a black sort of panel. Yeah, I saw this. With the carbon fibre, this does not work at all. I think this looks rubbish. Yeah, I don't know when that was, but yeah, that's not working. But again, it's a bit of a fight, isn't it? This Monster branding with with this blue, and it's kind of thing. So, and I saw this the other day. Is this Ray with the Joey Dunlop? Oh, this was this weekend. So this was going out after Sachsenring and UK Superbike round. Joey Dunlop replica helmet with this Monster logo in a box, and I would think they'd be pissed off for that, Monster. So this shows you the inflexibility, because it always works great when you've got that black helmet, the black tears or whatever you want to call it, that sits in. So yeah, I would think they'd be a bit annoyed by that. So yeah, this is the Assen special edition. So yeah, so now we have the Monster in the sort of this black panel. This makes the bike look so lighter, right? It looks so much more elegant and lighter. You know, I'm more of an old school sort of person, so I do appreciate the red and white style. The thing is with Yamaha is that they're trapped in like a nostalgia loop where they can't do anything without it being nostalgic. And that's fine, but it's such easy calories, right? You're constantly referencing the past and not creating the future throwbacks, right? You need to be making icons now to go in 10 years time to come back to this one. I'm going, remember that one in 2025? That was so cool. Yeah, so Yamaha's motorsport pedigree has all these different sort of touch points. I think this is, we've just seen this recently with some anniversary things with the YZ. Obviously the Roberts and the YZs from yesteryear. They've got such a great sort of pedigree, but they just can't help referencing it. But you need to be thinking about the future, because this is nothing. This is not an icon. This is not going to be referenced in 20 years' time, 10 years' time. And this is what you're missing out on when you're not trying hard enough. I think this is the patient zero of the current blue bikes, right? Pretty nice. Okay, this is hands down the best bike 2025. It's like, it's got it all. It's not like challenging and like changing the paradigm of liveries, but it's just really well crafted, really well put together, loads of consideration, and they're working with a lot, and they've packaged it really, really nicely. It doesn't look great in the press shots, but we'll see a track shot now. But it helps having like a sort of A-list sort of sponsorship with Alpine. Anything like that so makes it sort of feel premium. And then you got the betting company, it makes it feel a bit dirty, but this looks super cool. They've put it together, crafted it, made space, Motul wants to sit in its red. They've made space for it, crafted it in. Yeah, it looks fantastic. Got fades on it. Looks great under the lights. Looks great in sunlight. Makes it look like a completely different bike to the Quattraros Yamaha. Yeah, really top work. Look, they've got even Alpine even allow the A to be mirrored, right? So you got it going that way. You got it going that way. So credit to them. See the arrows pointing that way. So arrows pointing that way. So normally you'd have to point that way. So credit to them for that. Yeah, hands down the best bike in the grid. It has a sort of old-fashioned feel for it. I mean, in terms of like, it's just crafted and put together really well, considered, not rushed. Honda. This might be out of order now. So Honda. Yeah. I mean, I love Honda. I think they're my favourite manufacturer. just the best in terms of engineering. Just they've got a great archive. This looks like, reminds me of the Airways Ducati, Hodgson stuff, the 999, is it 999? Yeah, it's okay, isn't it? It does the job. Red, white, and blue, can't go wrong with that. I just feel that we see in a minute, like this, is that, kind of wish that was a bit more metallic. Honda, does that work there? I'm not so sure. There's a lot of lines fighting there, isn't there? This Castrol thing, I mean, what is it doing? I don't know. Why don't you just fill it in, just do it like a stripe, it'll just sit better, or bring it down and just sort of take that bottom section for it. Seems a bit clumsy, but it works best. I think this red, white and blue works best when you've got the red, white, blue. The blue and the red's a bit hard. I think just a bit of white there, a bit of key line, or just, just looks a bit sort of royal, a bit more sort of attractive. Yeah, nice tidy kit. Dainese. So yeah, you see what's happening. They've got a production language. Obviously this would have been first because the timeline for this is a lot longer than the race bike. Yeah, let's see, like red, white, blue, white. It's all right. And this looks a bit more interesting. So this is the Superbike at the minute, 2025. Get red, white, blue, white. I like the RR with the two blues. That's really nice. But yeah, this seems a bit more sort of tighter and packaged. Yeah, I like this. Looks really nice. Always nice to just little check on the trucks. Just check on what they're doing with the trucks, because sometimes that really informs you what they're doing in terms of the bikes. So they've got red, white, blue, white there. This, that there, that. I don't know who convinced you to do that, Honda. Get the HRC logo and make it a little italic and change the font and make it a bit more modern. Waste of money, waste of time. That's why you're not doing very well, because you changed that logo and you're cursed. Yeah, but like, Honda, they've got a really good archive, and they're reflecting it a little bit on their production bike. That metallic blue looks really nice. They're not sure that's production actually, but HRC, proper HRC logo. The blue, a bit more, the red's less overpowered, just as a balance. I think that would stand out a bit more on the track. I think they're playing with a lot of angles, funny angles here, and it reminds me of the old Spencer bike, and it's maybe not quite hitting, but it's hard not to like Honda. But again, when you're a factory team and you've got opportunity to do whatever you want to do, I'm kind of hoping that they just do a little bit more. It's a prototype series, so yeah, you don't have to match a production bike because you are the prototype. Create the look for your future superbikes, right? Some classic Hondas, yeah. I mean, all really well crafted, put together. Even this one is so simple. It's an Okawa bike. Is it Okawa? But strong, right? So strong. And the Hayden one, yeah, really nicely balanced, crafted. We didn't get this in the UK, this livery, but it's really, really nice. And even with the suit looks great with it as well. LCR, I mean, I think this is probably the people's champ, right? It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because Castrol, this has got nothing to do with Castrol as a brand, right? This is just their racing sort of style. So when you go to Castrol in a shop, it's quite technical and quite sort of, high tech. And then this is fun and like bright and playful and nothing like their product. So credit to them for doing that. Yeah, we know that language. Really cool, really striking. Zarco, what a dude. Looks great. Suit looks great. You don't want to, yeah, they've got the balance right. It's the sort of thing you could keep fiddling with all the time. But these two, this two in, Crutchlow, this is how bad it could be, right? So that's a product-driven livery. It's Castrol Power 1 versus a brand, right? A brand livery, so it's just Castrol. And then that looks nice. Yeah, so Chantra, tidy, neat, looks really cool on the track. think I like that a bit bigger, but I do like that reflection there. I'd like to see a lot more of this bike, but look how clean it is. Like, there's hardly any technical sponsors, really organised, got that metallic going there. Yeah, I do like that. Really smart. Looks even better like that with that Kashitani suit, with this little colour flash. Really nice. Love that. Nice one, Honda. VR46. It's fascinating, isn't it, this one? So credit for this livery from, you know, when they first launched it, it was like nothing like I've ever seen before. So credit for them for doing something really original. Nobody's done that and that strong on that profile of team. So yeah, well done VR46 for that. This looks like it's gone through like a field of rapeseed oil, flowers, and all the pollen's gone all over it. Really striking, really original. I kind of wish it was black and neon rather than neon and white. I think you just get a lot more standout through it, and you just connect to the Moonies version from 23. So, you know, let's have a look at this. What is cheeky, right, is they do a reveal of this livery, right, which is almost funny because, let's see it. Ta-da! So they do this reveal, but it's exactly like last year's. It is precisely the same, right? So that logo there is there. Fly to, hero. Okay, this red stripe under Fly Me, yeah, that nice Akrapovic, yeah, that matches up. Oh, that's a little bit different. Pertamina, where does that end? Ends right on the end of the fairing, so that'll be just on the other side of there. Exactly the same. eBay, how the gap between Pertamina and eBay is exactly the same. VR46 racing team, that looks the same. This blue Comoli Ferrari is the same. Barracuda's the same. This little thing there, Moto Course. Have we got that? Moto Course, Monster. Same. I mean, it's a different angle, but that, you know, that lines up with there. That, oh, so it's maybe slightly there. Yeah. Oh, down easy, different there. So the cheek to do that, kind of like, you know, fair play. Look, there's nothing wrong with it being the same at all, right? Why not? A lot of F1 teams don't change. I've got no problem with it being exactly the same. But to do a reveal and go check out our live stream of our reveal, and it's like, oh, come on, guys. But I don't think it was done ironically. This is just not working. There's 46 on there. Like, if you want to put 46 on there, why don't you just do it do the 46 as like a really big fat number plate and put the number inside it. That would kind of work quite nicely. Or make the sort of fade the 46 going into white, like a half tone or something like that. That'd be more interesting. But that's kind of like, you may as well not have done anything then put that on there. And I don't know if this is a Drudy thing or VR46 thing. I know Rossi's stuff at the minute is, the last few years for himself has been really sort of tight and really nicely done with the flames. I think they should have more of that involved in this. So exactly the same. Actually, check this out, right? Check this out. Valentino Rossi's Instagram. So VR46 is his team, right? So this is, when was this? 1st of July. The last time he posted his team, right, was his own MotoGP team. Was keep going. Yeah, girlfriend, wife, BMW, Motor Ranch, jet ski. Oh, there we go. So that is 20th of August 2024. So that's a bit weird, isn't it? It's just a bit weird. Why is he not? And then you can go again, right? There's more Yamahas than Ducatis. Yamaha. What I was saying about, I think his own stuff now, his own language on his helmets is a bit more sort of exciting. I think, why don't you make your team like that? Why don't you make your team have this language? You may as well. It's VR46, right? Yeah, another caveat. So I worked with Digia when he moved to VR46. We did a helmet together, and that was Hayes, with the artist Hayes. If you don't know who Hayes is, you know his work. I'm sure you've got a Beastie Boys CD tucked away. You'll see his work on that. But we did that helmet together for Digia. This was for Kota last year, I think. Yeah, so am I missing anybody out? That's it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Can try and do a few more of these. Peace and love. Future Despre, back again. Just for my conclusions, put your thoughts down below. You know, I'm not professional. It's just something I like to do on the side now and again. Yeah, it's some hits and misses in there. You know, it's very difficult to do this sort of stuff. There's a lot of pressures for the team. There's creative pressures, commercial pressures, time, and culture. I think culture is the one that's most underestimated, because you've got a lot of people that have been there a long time. They do things their way, and that's the best way in their opinion. So you do find this sort of a bit of a stagnant gene pool, I say, because not a lot has changed over the years. A good way to check the health of a sport is looking at the sponsorship. So at the minute, MotoGP, you know, so there's some teams that don't have title sponsors. There's hardly any household names involved. And you look at F1 with Louis Vuitton. Obviously, they're completely different scales. With Louis Vuitton in Formula One, what that does is it makes F1 transcend sport into culture, right? And that's the golden goose for any brand or marketing manager. That's like the jackpot. When they've got that happening, they know they're in a fantastic spot. MotoGP is nowhere near that. It's got tons to offer. Yeah, I always thought that, you know, there's great opportunity, because you don't have to be the fastest to be the coolest. There's a lot of scope to do something really exciting in that sport.